This video presents the key risk concepts in project management. You will understand what is a risk, what are the two main categories of risks in projects, and learn what are the four risk types according to the risk nature and behavior. Let's get started.
Welcome to Practical Business Analysis. My name is Américo Cunha. Learn fast, solve problems, make good decisions.
What is a risk? In my experience, I realized that there are a lot of misconceptions regarding the concept of risk. Some people think that all bad news are risks. This is not true. Also, some people believe that every uncertainty is a risk. That is also not true. We need to distinguish what is really a risk from the things that we call bad news or uncertainties. Uncertainty is an event that might happen or not. It means that the event has a probability of happening. But because it is an uncertain event, the probability cannot be 0% or 100%. It must be something in the middle. A bad news can be or not uncertainty. If the bad news is 100% certain of happening, it is not uncertainty, it is a fact. Usually, we can identify several uncertainties in several places. Right now, we may have a storm in some place in the world. It is an uncertain event, but maybe not a risk. What is a risk? Well, risks are the uncertainties that matter. Then we have the question, matter to what? We can say that it matters if it affects the project objective. A storm 10,000 miles away should not affect the project activities, and therefore it is not a risk. But if you have a storm close to you and that storm disrupts project activity, it is indeed a risk to the project. So we must understand that a risk has two components. First, it is an uncertain event, might or not happen, and it has a probability of happening. Two, must have an impact on project objective, and this impact can be positive or negative. If the impact is positive, we call that an opportunity. If the impact is negative, we call that a risk. To consolidate the two concepts presented so far, we can say a project risk is an uncertain event that impacts project objectives or impact the objective of one project activity, work package, deliverable, or the whole project. I know this concept is still a little bit vague. The word objective should be understood under the triple project constraints: scope, time, cost, plus quality. Any uncertain event that may crack down an activity outcome regarding time, cost, scope, and quality should be listed as a risk of the project. So, what are the main project risks? The project risks may be divided in two categories, depending on the level of impact on the project outcomes. There are risks that can affect the project as a whole, that we call overall project risks. And there is another group of risks that affect individual activities or work packages, called individual risks. The overall project risk represents the effect of an uncertainty on the project as a whole. It represents the exposure of the stakeholders to the implications of an event on the project outcome. Overall risks impact the strategic decisions regarding structure, scope, content, and environment. For instance, the risk of a competitor launching a new product that will affect the return on investment. As you can see, it is an external situation not related to an individual task in the project. It is a situation that should be monitored, keep the project sponsor informed, so he will be able to choose the best action. In the extreme, sometimes it may lead to a project early termination. The individual risks affect one or more project components. The individual risks impact the objective of one project task or work package. It's important to identify clearly how the risk event will affect the activity execution or the deliverable associated to that task. I always recommend to my students to ask questions such as how the risk event can affect the activity start, finish time. Does the risk event affect activity duration, execution, budget, scope, or quality? Always try to correlate the risk event and the real consequence on the project task. The second very useful classification is to understand the risk nature and its consequence. I'm using the word nature because this classification somehow helps us to understand how the risk characteristics could affect the activity objective. There are four main classifications. 1. Event risk. 2. Variability risks. 3. Ambiguity risk. And 4. Emergent risk. Now let's talk about each one of them. These risks are uncertain future events that may or not happen. If it happens, it will affect a task or work package. I have heard several of my students saying that inclement weather is a risk. Inclement weather or severe weather is not a risk per se. It is for sure an uncertain event. It will be a risk if it impacts a project task objective. And here can be the duration, task quality, task scope, or task cost. For instance, if a severe weather condition impacts the execution of an outdoor project task, it is a risk for that specific task. If most of the project activities are performed indoors, the stormy weather may not affect the project task, and therefore it won't be a risk to the project. The event risk is managed to the project risk processes, such as identification, assessment, response, in the risk register, risk metrics, etc. This is the most common risk, but there are others of different nature. The second risk is very well understood by people that work on quality management in manufacturing, but is not well considered in the project management field. It is called variability risk. It differs from event risk because it is not a single occurrence. Any work process has some level of variation, can be in the task durations or on the outcomes. For instance, to paint the walls of a room may take 4 hours in average. If you have a project that needs to paint 100 rooms in a hotel, we may estimate 400 work hours. But the work is not a machine. Naturally, the execution duration will vary. Let's suppose maybe minus plus 10%. Therefore, the task duration may range from 360 hours to 440 hours. That kind of variation may happen in other factors, such as cost, quality, and even scope. Therefore, there are other things beyond a single event that can affect the project objective. Pay attention because variation is present in any work. Doesn't matter if it's a project or a manufacturing work, and should be considered as a risk as well. Ambiguity risk is related to a clear lack of knowledge in the project task. It means that the project team knows that there are something that they don't know about the task. For instance, I have worked on several software projects before. The initial step of these projects is always to get and understand the user demands and requirements. The project team knows that it's impossible to have a formal specification that reflects integrally what the users need in the software. Therefore, it is widely known that the user specification will be always incomplete, regardless of the effort and dedication of the project team. This is an authentic situation in which ambiguity risk is present. The better way of mitigating this type of risk is to include some activities to validate the project team understanding, such as prototype analysis and validation. The fourth risk type is a little bit more tricky. Usually, it is called unknown risks. However, I like the definition adopted by Dr. Dave Hilton. He called that emergent risks to define unknown and unknowable unknowns. These are risks entirely outside the project team radar. The team just knows that something can happen and interfere with the project execution. For instance, imagine a pharmaceutical drug development project when a competitor launches a new drug with cutting-edge technology that provides much more benefits than the product in development. It is a risk completely outside of the project team knowledge framework, impossible to be known in advance. The critical challenge is to identify essential functions, essential tasks, and develop a continuity plan in case of a disruption. Business continuity strategies are beneficial to deal with unknown and unknowable risks in business and in projects. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Now, I am sure you are able to understand better what kind of risks you may face in projects. Now, to see if you understood the main risk concepts, try to answer these three questions. What is a risk? What are the project risks? What are the main risk types? If you want to learn more, please send me your questions in the comment area below.
We worked hard to help you to get better marks, be prepared for job interviews, and excel in work meetings. You can send your questions in the comment area below. I will be pleased to answer all of them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe Américo e-Learning.